This video is about Freyja leads warriors until spell fades. If this myth excites you, please like the video, share it with friends, and write in the comments how it pulled you into the adventure. Part 1. Freyja leads warriors until spell fades. In the ancient realms of Eastgard, where the sky shimmered with the breath of gods and the earth throbbed with the pulse of magic, Freyja, the goddess of love and war, stood atop the hill of Vigrid. A golden hair danced in the wind, shimmering under the weight of the sun, a beacon of hope for the warriors gathered beneath her. They were the Einherjar, the bravest souls who had fallen in battle, now summoned to join her in the fight against a looming darkness. The air crackled with tension as Freyja surveyed her army. Each warrior bore scars of valor, their armor polished to a gleam, reflected a fierce determination that ignited the spirit of the dead. She raised her hand, and a hush fell over the throng. The time had come to rally them. Brave souls of Valhalla. Freyja's voice rang like a clarion call, powerful and melodic. We stand at the precipice of an ancient prophecy. A darkness, born of betrayal and envy, seeks to engulf our world. We cannot falter. A murmur rippled through the crowd, echoing her words, a chorus of courage. Among them stood Tyr, the one-handed god of war, who had sacrificed his very flesh for the sake of honor. His fierce blue eyes gleamed with anticipation as he brandished his sword, its edge glistening like the promise of victory. We stand not just for ourselves, but for the balance of all realms, Tyr proclaimed, stepping forward. Let the enemies of Asgard be cast into the void. Around them, the wind howled as if awakened by their fervor, and Freyja glanced skyward. She could sense the disturbance, an omen that sent shivers down her spine. A fractured star flickered ominously in the twilight sky, a harbinger of the trials to come. Days slipped by as Freyja and the Einherjar prepared for the inevitable clash with the forces of the dark sorceress Helya, ruler of the underworld. Helya had long harbored envy towards the Aesir and plotted to seize their power. News of her sinister machinations had spread like wildfire, igniting fury and fear alike. One fateful night, as the moon hung low, a silvery disk that seemed to weep for the world, Freyja gathered her warriors around a sacred fire. Its flames danced like spirits, illuminating the faces of men and women whose lives had been forfeit yet whose hearts burned fiercely with life. Tonight we invoke the power of the runes, Freyja declared, her voice a soothing balm against the rising tide of dread. With them, we shall fortify our spirits, we shall be relentless. With meticulous grace, she traced ancient symbols in the air, her fingers weaving threads of magic that shimmered like starlight. The warriors watched, captivated, as shimmering runes spiraled around them, wrapping them in a protective embrace. They felt the surge of power, an intoxicating elixir that seeped into their very souls. As dawn broke, the warriors of Valhalla stood united, a living wall of defiance against the approaching storm. They marched towards the edge of the world, where earth kissed the sea and the sky rumbled with anticipation. Freyja led them, her heart swelling with pride, her resolve as unyielding as the mountains. The battlefield lay before them, a swelling maelstrom of darkness where shadows twisted and writhed. Helya's army of the damned awaited, a grotesque spectacle of wraiths, giants, and beasts, their eyes hollow with despair yet glowing with insatiable hunger for vengeance. As Freyja surveyed the enemy lions, her heart sank. Among them she spotted a figure cloaked in shadow, emanating an aura of despair that chilled even the bravest of hearts. It was Helya, her pale visage a mask of malevolence, her eyes two voids that threatened to swallow the light. Freyja. Helya's voice slithered across the battlefield, sinister and mocking. You stand here, a fleeting spark against the encroaching darkness. Your valor does not frighten me, it merely amuses me. Freyja clenched her fists. Your laughter will be your undoing, Helya. We are not mere sparks. We are the fires that will burn the darkness away. With a sweep of her arm, Freyja signaled her warriors. The Einherjar surged forward, a wave of fury crashing against the walls of despair. Swords clashed, shields splintered, and the sounds of battle rose into a crescendo that echoed through the heavens. Freyja fought with the ferocity of a lioness, her sword flashing like lightning as she carved a path through the onslaught. Each foe that fell before her was a testament to her fury, a tribute to the fallen warriors who now stood by her side. She felt their spirits entwined with hers, an unbreakable bond forged in the fires of sacrifice. But as the battle raged on, Freyja could feel the spell of the runes begin to wane, the protective light flickering like a candle in a tempest. The Einherjar fought valiantly, yet fatigue began to set in, their movements growing sluggish as the weight of their mortal call surged back to claim them. Hold strong, Freyja called out, her voice strained yet fierce. We cannot falter now. With every clash of steel, with every wail of the wounded, Freyja pushed forward, seeking out Helya amidst the chaos. The sorceress was a master of deception, vanishing into smoke, only to reappear, taunting and mocking, her laughter echoing like the tolling of a funeral bell. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting crimson hues over the battlefield, Freyja found herself face to face with Helia. You cannot win, Helia. This is not merely a battle of strength, it is a battle of wills, and ours is unyielding. Helia's eyes glimmered with dark amusement. You are naive, Freyja. You think yourself a beacon of light, yet your warriors are but shadows. Watch as they succumb to the inevitable. With a flick of her wrist, Helia summoned wraiths that lunged at the Einhajar, their touch straining the very essence of life. One by one, Freyja's warriors faltered, their forms blurring as the life force was stripped from them. The battlefield echoed with the cries of the fallen, and despair began to creep into the hearts of those still standing. Ah! Freyja screamed, her voice a raw howl of anger and desperation. I will not let you take them. With a surge of power, she drew upon the last remnants of the rune magic, channeling every ounce of her being into a brilliant burst of light. It exploded forth, illuminating the dark expanse, dispelling the wraiths that threatened to consume her warriors. Yet in that moment of brilliance, the spell flickered, and Freyja felt her strength ebb away. The protective haze around her warriors began to fade, fading like mist before the sun, and she realized with horror that the magic she had woven was a fragile thread, unraveling before her eyes. Freyja. Tyr's voice broke through the chaos, filled with urgency. The spell, it is fading. Freyja cried, her heart racing. We must fight, we cannot surrender to despair. Yet, as she uttered those words, she saw the terror in her warriors' eyes, knew the darkness was creeping closer. The battle was not just for Asgard, it was a battle for their very souls, and the stakes had never been higher. Freyja's heart pounded in her chest, entwined with the weight of destiny, the cruelty of fate, and the bonds of honor forged in blood. She had led them this far, she would not let Helios snatch victory from the jaws of bravery. But the tide was turning, and the darkness was relentless. As shadows loomed and despair gnawed at her warriors, Freyja understood that the path ahead would be a treacherous one, fraught with sacrifices that would test the very essence of courage, loyalty, and love. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the world into twilight, Freyja knew that the coming battle would not only define her legacy, but the fate of all realms entwined in the dance of light and darkness. The stakes were higher than ever, and the echoes of destiny whispered ever louder in her heart, beckoning her toward the next act of this eternal struggle. The clash of steel rang out, the cries of the fallen pierced the air, and the epic saga of Freyja and her warriors had just begun. Hash 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 Part 2, The Twilight of the Gods. As the sun sank beneath the horizon, casting the battlefield into a tapestry of shadows and crimson, Freyja felt the weight of despair settle upon her like a shroud. The Einhajar, once vibrant and fierce, now wavered, their spirits stilled under the encroaching darkness. Helia's laughter echoed like a haunting dirge, a cruel reminder of the stakes at hand. Freyja. Tyr's voice boomed over the commotion, a clarion call resonating through the chaos. We must regroup. The spell may be fading, but our hearts remain strong. Freyja turned to him, her resolve hardening like tempered steel. You rewrite, Tyr. We must rally our forces. If we are to overcome this darkness, we must do so together. She clasped his shoulder, drawing strength from their bond. Together, they were more than mere warriors. They were an embodiment of honor, hope, and the fierce love that coursed through the veins of the Aesir. With a fierce battle cry, Freyja beckoned her warriors to her side, their spirits ignited anew. In the face of despair, a flicker of determination blazed within them. She could see it in their eyes, a fire that had not yet extinguished. Stand tall, Einhajar. Freyja shouted, her voice cutting through the din like a sword through flesh. We have faced death before. We have tasted triumph and tragedy, but we will not fall tonight. The warrior shouts of affirmation rose, a tide of sound that broke against the shores of darkness. With renewed vigor, they formed ranks around Freyja, their shields interlocking, creating a barrier against the encroaching wraiths. Tyr, standing tall beside her, raised his sword high, the blade gleaming with defiance. Let them come, he bellowed, stealing their hearts. We are the echoes of battle, the spirits of the fallen, and we will not yield. As if in response, Helios summoned forth a new wave of shadows, grotesque wraiths that slithered like smirk, their hollow eyes filled with insatiable hunger. They lunged at the Einhajar, seeking to ensnare them in their ethereal grasp. But Freyja stood firm, her sword poised, ready to strike. Now, she commanded, and the warriors surged forward, swords flashing like stars as they clashed against the eerie tide. The sounds of battle crescendoed, the metallic clang of blades, the cries of warriors, the wails of the damned creating a symphony of chaos. Freyja danced through the fray, her movements fluid and lethal, each stroke of her blade a testament to her fury. She weaved a path through the shadows, her heart beating like a war drum. Each foe that fell was a memory, a name whispered in the halls of Valhalla, a soul avenged, a vow fulfilled. Yet, as she fought, an unsettling feeling twisted in her gut. The spell had diminished, and each strike felt more labored, as if the very essence of her warriors was being drained. She could sense the encroaching spell like a thick fog, creeping over her comrades, threatening to extinguish the flames of their spirits. Freyja, a voice shouted from the periphery, and she turned to find Astrid, a fierce shield maiden, her face smeared with blood and sweat. Weary being overwhelmed, the race. Before she could finish, a shadow lunged at Astrid, its claws reaching for her throat. Freyja reacted instinctively, slicing through the wraith with a swift arc of her sword, but the damage was done. Astrid staggered back, gasping for air, her spirit flickering. "Ugh!" Freyja cried, reaching out to her. "Stay strong, remember your home, your family, they fight for you." Astrid's eyes shimmered with a spark of recognition, and she steadied herself, raising her shield once more. "For Asgard," she shouted, rallying her spirits even as the darkness clawed at her. But even as they fought valiantly, Freyja could see their strength waning, like the last flickers of a dying flame. They needed a new strategy, an infusion of magic to bolster their resolve. Drawing upon the remnants of the runes, she closed her eyes, channeling the ancient power that coursed through the very soil of Asgard. "The ancestors of the Aesir, hear my call," she intoned, her voice resonating with urgency. "Grant us your strength, lend us your spirit." A gust of wind swirled around her, stirring the fallen leaves and stirring the hearts of the Ainjar. The air shimmered with ethereal light, and for a fleeting moment, Freyja felt their ancestors' presence, their valor igniting the spirits of her warriors. But Helya, sensing the shift, unleashed a torrent of chaos. "Foolish goddess," she screeched, her voice laced with venom. "You think the dead will save you? They are but memories, echoes of a time long past. I will consume your light." With a wave of her hand, Helya conjured a vortex of shadows, swallowing the radiance that Freyja had summoned. The battlefield dimmed, and despair crept back in, threatening to extinguish the flickering hope. Freyja gritted her teeth, refusing to yield. "We fight, not for memories, but for the future," she shouted, rallying her warriors. "We are the embodiment of our ancestors' dreams. Stand with me." At that moment, a thunderous roar split the air, drawing all eyes to the sky. From the depths of the clouds, a figure emerged, radiant and powerful. It was Odin, the All-Father, his one eye gleaming with purpose, his mighty spear, Gungnir, raised high. "Freyja," he called, his voice booming like thunder. "You have led well, but the battle is not yet won. Harness your love and your strength. Bind them together." Freyja felt a surge of divine energy flow through her, a connection to the All-Father that ignited her spirit anew. "Odin, guide my hand," she cried, channeling the strength of love, honor, and destiny into a single, potent force. With renewed ferocity, Freyja plunged back into the fray, rallying her warriors, the echoes of their ancestors igniting a fire within their hearts. The Ainjar surged forward, their blades gleaming with newfound resolve. "Charge," she yelled, leading the charge into the fray, wielding her sword as a beacon against the dark. Together, they clashed against the wraiths, the tide of battle shifting as the flames of their spirits rose. Amidst the chaos, Freyja found herself once more face to face with Helya, their power entwined in a dance of light and shadow. "You will not break me, sorceress," Freyja declared, her eyes burning with determination. Helya sneered, her voice laced with malice. "You think your love and courage cannot match the depths of despair. You are a fool, Freyja." "Perhaps," Freyja replied, her voice steady, "but I will not falter before the likes of you." With a roar, Freyja charged at Helya, her sword raised high, imbued with the essence of her warriors. The clash was monumental, the very air crackling with energy as their powers collided. In that moment, Freyja understood that this battle was not merely against Helya, it was a fight for every soul, every glimmer of light against the consuming dark. The echoes of her warriors surged within her, and she pushed forward, shattering the darkness that threatened to consume them. But just as victory seemed within grasp, Helya unleashed a surge of dark energy, a tempest that swept through the battlefield, scattering the Ainjar like leaves in a storm. Freyja cried out, her heart aching as she watched her warriors being engulfed in the shadows. "No," she roared, throwing herself into the fray, but the darkness clawed at her, threatening to pull her into its depths. Then, in a moment of clarity, she remembered the words of Odin, the bond of love and strength. Closing her eyes, she drew upon that connection, weaving the threads of her heart into a tapestry of power. Together, she screamed, feeling the presence of her warriors gather around her, their spirits entwining with her own. "We are the dawn that breaks the night. We will not be silenced." With a surge of energy, she unleashed a brilliant burst of light, a radiant beacon that shattered the shadows and ignited the very fabric of the battlefield. The wraith screamed, disintegrating into wisps of despair, leaving only the fierce light of the Einherjar standing tall. As the light enveloped the battlefield, Freyja expected victory but felt a sudden emptiness. In the aftermath of the blinding brilliance, she gasped, gazing around at the fallen. The corpses of her warriors lay scattered, their faces serene yet haunting in repose. Freyja fell to her knees, anguish welling up inside her. "No," she cried, clutching her sword tightly. Part 3: The Heart of Sacrifice. Freyja knelt among the fallen Einherjar, their bodies sprawled across the battlefield like discarded dreams, their fierce spirits now silent. Each lifeless form was a cut to her heart, a dagger of despair twisting deeper with every glance. She pressed her hand against the earth, feeling the vibrations of their last breaths, the whispers of their courage echoing through the silence. "Why?" she choked out, her voice cracking beneath the weight of her grief. "Why must our valor be met with such tragedy?" The question hung in the air, unanswered, as the sun set behind a veil of dark clouds, casting an eerie twilight over the realm. But as she mourned, a flicker of movement caught her eye. From the corner of her vision, a figure rose slowly, a battered warrior, their armor dented and bloody. It was Tyr, his blue eyes filled with a fierce determination. Despite his own wounds, he stood tall, embodying the essence of honor that had once defined him. "Freyja," he called, his voice a rallying cry against despair. "Do not give in to sorrow, we have not yet lost, the battle rages on." Tyr's words wrapped around her like a lifeline, igniting a spark within her weary soul. Freyja lifted her gaze, meeting Tyr's unwavering stare. "But at what cost, Tyr? We stand on the precipice of ruin." "We honor our fallen by continuing the fight," he replied, stepping closer. "They did not lay down their lives for nothing. We carry their spirits with us. We must rise again together." The fire in her heart reignited at his words. Despair tempered into resolve as Freyja rose to her feet, wiping the tears from her eyes. The shadows of Helios' forces still lurked, waiting for the moment when her grief would swallow her whole. She could not let that happen. "Then we fight," Freyja proclaimed, her voice cutting through the darkness like a blade. "For our comrades, for Asgard, for the light that must never fade." The remaining warriors, weary but unbroken, rallied around her, their spirits rekindled. The Einherjar may have fallen, but their strength resonated within the living. They would not let Helios' darkness snuff out their light without a final stand. Freyja turned to the battlefield, breathing in the acrid air thick with the smell of smoke and blood. "Prepare yourselves," she shouted, her voice rising above the din of chaos. "We shall not leave this realm in shadows, we shall reclaim our honor." With a fierce battle cry, Freyja led the charge, her sword slicing through the air, a golden arc of fury. The Einherjar followed, a surge of warriors driven by the spirit of their fallen companions. They moved like a tempest, a whirlwind of steel and valor, clashing against the remnants of Helios' army. The darkness writhed in response, shadows coiling and twisting like serpents, but Freyja remained undaunted. With every blow she struck, she felt the presence of her fallen warriors, their energy coursing through her veins, guiding her hand. The memory of their laughter, their dreams, fueled her determination as she fought through the encroaching despair. Amidst the chaos, Freyja spotted Heliod, a figure cloaked in shadows, watching with contempt. "You think you can rise from the ashes of your defeat?" Heli taunted, her voice dripping with malice. "You are a moth drawn to the flame, Freyja, the darkness will consume you." "No, Heliod," Freyja shouted, pushing through the throngs of enemies. "I am the flame, I will not flicker out while there is breath in my body." With a fierce swing of her sword, Freyja cut through the nearest wraith, its form disintegrating into smoke. She forged her way toward Heliod, determination igniting her every step. The shadows lunged at her, but she danced through them, dodging and weaving, a whirlwind of defiance. "You are but a fleeting moment, goddess of love and war," Heliod hissed, summoning dark tendrils to ensnare Freyja. "Your strength will falter, and I will feast upon your despair." But as the shadows wrapped around her, Freyja felt a warmth in her chest that bond with her fallen warriors. "I carry their strength," she declared, focusing every ounce of energy within her. "You shall never take that from me." With a primal roar, she unleashed a wave of energy that burst forth like a supernova, the light tearing through the shadows, illuminating the battlefield. The wraiths recoiled, shrieking as they were consumed by the brilliance. Freyja felt the power surge, her heart beating in unison with the spirits of the Einherjar who fought beside her. Yet Helios stood unyielding, a dark storm amidst the light. "You think a flicker of light can defeat me?" she screeched, her eyes glimmering with fury as she summoned a tempest of shadows. The darkness swirled around her, thickening, forming monstrous shapes that loomed above Freyja. Together, Tyr shouted, rallying the remaining warriors around Freyja, their voices raised in a unified battle cry. For honor, for glory, for the fallen! As their voices rose, Freyja felt the echoes of her comrades surge within her, weaving a tapestry of strength that surged through the air like a cascading waterfall. The warriors, undeterred by fatigue, pressed forward, forming a wall of shields and swords, their spirits entwined with Freyja's. Now, Einherjar, fight together, let their darkness be our fuel. Freyja shouted, her heart ablaze with passion. With united force, they charged at Helya, their combined might a beacon of hope piercing through the storm. The clash was monumental, the very fabric of the battlefield trembling as light met darkness in a cataclysmic struggle. The air crackled with tension, the energy vibrating across the expanse as Freyja confronted Helya, their powers colliding in a blinding display. You cannot extinguish the flame of Asgard. Freyja roared, channeling the love and honor of her warriors, a fierce force against the tide of darkness. Helya sneered, her power churning like a tempest. You are but a flicker, you will be snuffed out like a candle in a storm. But Freyja refused to back down. Then let this flicker ignite the dawn, she shouted, pouring every ounce of strength into her sword. The blade shimmered, radiating the spirits of her fallen comrades, a luminous force of pure defiance. With a final surge, Freyja lunged forward, her sword thrusting into the heart of Helya as dark tempest. A blinding light erupted, engulfing the darkness, shattering the veil of shadows that had threatened to consume them all. As the light surged, Freyja felt the warmth of her warriors envelop her, their spirits lifting her higher, illuminating the battlefield with their combined valor. The shadows screamed, disintegrating into dust, and Helya's dark laughter transformed into a wail of despair that echoed through the void. Nah! Helya shrieked, her form unraveling, consumed by the very darkness she had wielded. You cannot defeat me. But Freyja pressed on, her heart resolute. You are never the light you sought to extinguish, Helya. We are the fires that will rise from the ashes, and you will not extinguish our spirit. With a final, triumphant roar, Freyja drove her sword deeper, the light erupting in brilliance, illuminating the battlefield and banishing the darkness. The remnants of Helya's army dissolved into nothingness, the wraiths turned to whispers on the wind, and for the first time, the silence of victory settled upon the battlefield. Freyja collapsed to her knees, her breath coming in ragged gasps, the weight of triumph mingling with the sorrow of loss. Around her, the surviving Einherjar stood tall, weary but resolute, their eyes shining with the fire of their fallen comrades. We have won, Tyr said, his voice soft yet filled with awe. But at what cost? Freyja nodded, her heart heavy with the price of victory. We honor them by living, by carrying their legacy in the flames of their valor within us. As the sun broke through the clouds, casting rays of golden light upon the battered battlefield, Freyja stood with her warriors, their spirits intertwined, a testament to love, honor, and the undying light that would forever echo in the hearts of Asgard. We must rebuild, she declared, her voice strong yet tinged with sorrow. The story of our fallen shall not end here. We will tell their tales, and we will rise again stronger, united, and forever shining. The Einherjar nodded, their hearts steadying with renewed purpose. Together, they would carry the legacy forward, forge anew from the embers of battle, and ensure that the light of their fallen would never fade. And so, under the watchful gaze of the gods, Freyja led her warriors home, stepping into a new dawn, their hearts united in the eternal dance of light and darkness, where love and honor would... Hash, Part 4, the echoes of Valhalla. As dawn broke over the battlefield, the light spilled like molten gold over the remnants of chaos, illuminating the fallen warriors whose sacrifice had defined the clash between the forces of light and darkness. Freyja stood amidst the smoldering remains, her heart heavy with sorrow for those who had fought valiantly yet paid the ultimate price. Each breath she took felt like a tribute to their courage, an echo of their indomitable spirits resonating within her. Freyja, Tyr approached, his footsteps heavy with the weight of grief. Despite his battle scars, there was a fire in his eyes, a glimmer of hope that pushed against the bleakness surrounding them. We have won, yet we have lost so much. I know, she replied, her voice wavering as she surveyed the silent bodies of her comrades, warriors who had given their all to protect Asgard. She knelt beside Astrid, the fierce shield maiden who had fought with such tenacity, and pressed her fingers against the cold earth. Their sacrifices will not be in vain, I swear it. Suddenly, a rumble echoed through the atmosphere, a shudder that shook the very earth beneath them. A storm brewed on the horizon, dark clouds swirling ominously as if Helya's spirit sought revenge even in defeat. Freyja's heart raced, the earth thick with tension as the winds howled, carrying with them whispers of impending doom. We must gather the survivors and retreat, Tyr urged, motioning to the remaining Einherjar, their faces lined with exhaustion and sorrow. There is no telling what Helya has left in her wake. Freyja nodded, but her spirit remained restless. We cannot leave our fallen behind. They deserve a proper farewell, a celebration of their lives. As if in response, the skies darkened further, the tempest brewing with each passing moment. The warriors around them began to murmur, fear creeping into their hearts like shadows as they sensed the malevolence lurking just beyond the veil of storms. Freyja. Tyr barked, his voice urgent. We can honor them later. We need to get to safety. The ground shuddered anew, and from the swirling darkness, monstrous forms began to emerge, twisted shadows of the fallen, warped by Helya's dark magic. They were the echoes of the Einherjar, their spirits ensnared in a nightmarish torment, rising to strike at the very souls they had once fought beside. Form a line. Freyja commanded, her voice fierce as the storm raged. Stand united, our strength lies in our bonds. The remaining warriors rallied behind her, brandishing their weapons, a defiance igniting within their hearts. Tyr stood shoulder to shoulder with Freyja, his sword gleaming with an ethereal glow, the spirit of honor weaving through its very essence. They faced the onslaught together as the shadows lunged, seeking to consume the light that remained. Fight back. Freyja shouted, channeling the strength of her fallen comrades into her blade. Remember who you are, remember why we fight. With a rallying cry, the Einherjar surged forward, their spirits entwined, their hearts beating as one. Swords clashed against shadows, the air filled with the cacophony of battle, a symphony of courage against despair. Freyja fought with a ferocity that radiated from the depths of her soul, each swing of her sword a testament to the love she bore for her fallen comrades. The wraiths writhed and twisted, their forms grotesque and unsettling, yet Freyja saw glimpses of the warriors they once were, flickering spirits trapped in a prison of darkness. Each strike she landed didn't just aim to vanquish, it aimed to free, to liberate the memory of those who had fought beside them. Freyja! Tyr shouted, parrying a shadow that lunged at him, his movements a dance of valor. We can hold them back forever. Then we must draw upon their strength. Freyja replied, her voice a clarion call. We will not let Helya claim them again. With a deep breath, Freyja closed her eyes, focusing on the bond that tied her to the fallen. Spirits of the Einherjar, heed my call, rise with us, she cried, her voice rising above the tempest, a beacon against encroaching despair. A surge of energy pulsed through her, a warmth that enveloped her like a protective shroud. The air shimmered with vibrant hues as the spirits of the fallen began to coalesce, their forms weaving through the shadows like threads of light. Freyja felt their strength surge within her, a tide of bravery that washed away the fear threatening to consume her. Together, she shouted, her voice infused with newfound power. Let their souls break the chains of darkness. With renewed purpose, the Einherjar fought alongside the luminous spirits of their fallen comrades. The battlefield erupted into a spectacular display of light and shadow, a whirlwind of valor clashing against despair. Freyja wielded her sword as a conduit of their collective strength, her heart unyielding. As she carved through the wraiths, she could feel the spirits whispering to her, urging her onward. Freyja, we are with you, they echoed, their voices overlapping, a haunting melody that resonated within her. The shadows recoiled, their grotesque forms flickering as Freyja and her warriors pressed on, a relentless tide of light pushing back against the storm. The darkness writhed in panic, its ferocity turning to desperation, and Freyja seized the moment. Now, let their spirits guide us, she shouted, rallying her warriors with a fierce determination. Charge! With a united roar, the Einherjar surged forward, a tidal wave of light crashing against the shadows. Swords glimmered with the essence of their lost comrades, each strike a tribute to the lives given in honor. But amidst the chaos, a figure emerged from the storm, a radiant silhouette that cut through the darkness, an embodiment of fury and vengeance. It was Helya, her form twisted and contorted, a reflection of the wrath she had borne for eons. Freyja, she screamed, her voice a cacophony of malice and despair. You think you can defy me? You are nothing but a flame destined to be extinguished. Freyja locked eyes with the sorceress, her heart pounding with a mix of fury and defiance. I am the light that will not be snuffed out. You will not claim your vengeance here. With a surge of power, Freyja launched herself toward Helya, her sword alight with the energy of the fallen. The clash that followed reverberated across the battlefield, a shockwave of light and darkness colliding in a monumental struggle. Helya retaliated, summoning tendrils of shadow that struck like vipers, seeking to ensnare Freyja in their grasp. But Freyja danced through them, each movement a testament to her resilience and the love for her fallen warriors fueling her every step. I will not falter, she declared, channeling the spirits of her comrades, their energy intertwining with her own. The air crackled with tension as she pressed forward, undeterred by Helia's fury. With a final surge of strength, Freyja swung her sword in a blinding arc, a radiant burst of light that sliced through the shadows. The darkness screamed, shrieking as it recoiled from the sheer force of Freyja's will. Noth? Heli shrieked, her voice filled with unbridled rage. You cannot. But Freyja persisted, a relentless force imbued with love, honor, and the memories of the fallen. You will not take them from me again, she roared, thrusting her sword deep into Helia's heart, the light erupting in a brilliant explosion. The battlefield trembled as the darkness shattered, splintering into shards that dissolved into the ether. Helia's form disintegrated, her screams fading into the wind, leaving only silence in her wake. The tempest subsided, and as the shadows lifted, the golden light of dawn pierced through the remnants of the storm. Freyja fell to her knees, her breath coming in weary gasps as the weight of the battle settled over her like a mantle. Around her, the remaining Einherjar stood tall, their faces illuminated with the glow of victory mingled with grief. They had fought alongside her against the very essence of despair, and together they had emerged victorious. Freyja, tear-perched, kneeling beside her, his voice a steadiness in the aftermath. You have led us bravely, they have not fallen in vain. Tears brimmed in her eyes as she looked into his fierce blue gaze. We carry their legacy within us, Tyr. We must honor them, not just in battle but in life. Their stories will echo through the halls of Valhalla. With a deep breath, Freyja rose, her heart heavy yet resolute. She could feel the presence of her fallen comrades surrounding her, their spirits lifting her up. We shall rebuild, we shall honor them with every breath we take. Let the echoes of their valor guide us as we forge our new path. Together, they gathered the remnants of their strength, standing united under the dawning sun. The spectre of loss,